Fellas, let's be honest. Going no contact is just the beginning. If you think silence alone is enough to make her regret losing you, you're still playing checkers while she's playing chess. Going no contact is the foundation, but not the finish line. Too many men believe that silence alone is enough to send a message, but in reality, it's only the first step. The silence must be intentional, not passive. It's not about disappearing just to be missed. It's about removing your energy, your presence, and your validation from someone who assumed it would always be available. Silence without growth is just quiet suffering, and women can sense that. If you're still checking her stories, thinking about her daily, wondering if she's thinking about you, you're not in control. You've just gone mute, not powerful. True no contact is deeper. It's about reclaiming your emotional authority. It means not letting your mind orbit around her absence. It means taking the same emotional investment you were pouring into her and redirecting it into yourself, into your mission, into your physical strength, into your craft, your goals, your discipline. And here's the part most men overlook. It's not just about what you're avoiding. It's about what you're becoming. That silence should echo with purpose. Because a man who simply disappears looks weak if he resurfaces unchanged. But a man who goes quiet and returns sharper, stronger, and more grounded, he doesn't need to prove anything. His evolution speaks louder than any text. When she realizes that her exit wasn't a pause in your life, but a pivot into your prime, that's when the power dynamic shifts. And trust me, her ego will feel that shift. Not because you punished her with silence, but because you showed her she was never the source of your power to begin with. You just forgot for a moment. No contact is the reset button, not to win her back, but to remember who you are without her influence clouding your clarity. Most men use no contact as a tactic. Few use it as a transformation. Those who do, they don't chase, they don't explain. They ascend, and in doing so, they leave her questioning everything she thought she knew. Here's what actually crushes her ego. When she looks back and sees you've become a version of yourself she can no longer access. That's the moment it hits her. The man she dismissed, doubted, or disrespected didn't just disappear. He upgraded, and not just with new clothes or a gym membership, but with a mindset shift so profound that she can no longer find an entry point into your world. This is about true transformation in the shadows. While she's out posting selfies, chasing validation, or entertaining distractions, you're building in silence. Every early morning workout, every hour spent mastering your craft, every moment you choose discipline over impulse, these are the bricks of your rebirth. And the most powerful part, she doesn't see it coming. She expects you to be stuck, obsessing, maybe even reaching out. But you're doing the exact opposite. You're evolving so consistently, so unapologetically, that the version of yourself she once knew is now a stranger. That distance, not physical but psychological, is what her ego can't handle. Because when a woman realizes that she no longer has emotional access to a man she once had control over, it stings. Especially when that man didn't fall apart without her, he thrived. You're not doing it for her, but the side effect is brutal for her pride. She thought you'd be waiting, but now you're unrecognizable in the best way. You're walking taller, speaking less, commanding more. You've got purpose behind your eyes and momentum in your stride. That transformation, done in private and revealed only through results, delivers a blow to her ego that words never could. She can't even compete with your new reality. because she's no longer part of it. And that truth, that's what hurts the most. Let her wonder. Don't delete your socials, strategically use them. This isn't about flexing or showing off to get her attention. It's about controlling the narrative without ever saying a word. You don't need to post thirst traps or indirect quotes to spark her curiosity. All you have to do is display progress subtly, consistently. A man with vision doesn't need to explain himself. His moves say everything. When you post that photo at a high, in dinner with powerful people, when you share a snapshot of a passport, a business win, or a new skill, you're not being flashy. You're showing that life is moving forward without her. And that's the message she reads between the pixels. You didn't freeze when she left. You flourished. Women pay attention to social signals, especially when they come from someone they used to have emotional control over. She'll see it. She'll zoom in. She'll compare it to the last version of you she remembers. And what's worse for her ego is that you're not watching her back. You're not liking her posts. You're not sending messages. You're broadcasting that her relevance in your life has expired. Your silence is one thing, but silence paired with undeniable progress, that's a psychological trigger. It forces her to reconcile with the idea that she underestimated you. And now she can't reach you not because she's blocked, but because she's no longer on your level. You let her go and you leveled up. Your life isn't about her anymore, and the narrative is no longer the guy she left. It's the man she lost. This is psychological warfare 101. You want to shake her ego, be desired by other women without giving her a second glance. Women are deeply competitive by nature, especially when it comes to status and desirability. They may not admit it, but they notice who other women are drawn to, who they laugh with, who they give their time and attention to. When you become the man that other women want, not because you're chasing them, but because you've built something valuable around you, her ego takes a direct hit. She no longer sees you as hers, and worse, she realizes others see value in what she threw away. That stings, because while she might have convinced herself that you were easily replaceable, the world is showing her otherwise. You're not begging for her attention, you're attracting it naturally by being a man of presence, a man of substance. You don't even have to speak to her. The whispers of your worth are carried by the way others look at you, the way they speak your name, and the way women respond to your energy. And here's the key. You're not trying to make her jealous. You're just living in such a way that her ego can't ignore it. You're showing her what emotional and romantic irrelevance feels like, not through bitterness, but through indifference. You're not trying to prove anything. You're simply becoming a man of such value that women are drawn to you, and she realizes she no longer has a place in your story. That's the psychological reversal. Once she sees other women wanting you, she's forced to reevaluate her decision. Not because she misses you, but because her ego can't handle being replaced so easily. She thought she was unique, that you'd never find better. Now she sees that she was just a chapter, not the whole book. The moment she realizes that her drama doesn't move you anymore, that's when the ego cracks. Because most women, whether they admit it or not, test men emotionally. They want to see if they still have access to your reactions. If she can pull you into an argument, guilt you with silence, or get you to explain yourself, then she knows she still has influence. But when she tries her usual patterns and gets no reaction, no rise, no emotional response, that's when the confusion starts. She begins questioning whether her grip on you has truly faded. And that confusion becomes ego damage when she sees you're not playing anymore. You've elevated past the need to respond, to defend, to clarify. You don't send long texts trying to make her understand. You don't chase closure. You've made peace with her absence, and that's exactly what she didn't expect. She expected pushback. She expected reaction. But what she got was silence. Not the silence of defeat, but the silence of someone who has mastered detachment. That emotional self-control isn't weakness, it's dominance. It shows her that she no longer dictates your emotional climate, that no matter how much noise she makes, you won't flinch. And when a man no longer reacts, a woman no longer feels powerful. She realizes that her chaos has lost its effect, and that reality humbles her. She can scream into the void, test you with petty games, or try to spark jealousy, but all she's met with is calm, quiet indifference. And nothing hits the ego harder than realizing the man who once bent for her now doesn't move at all. Her ego thrives on the illusion that you're still waiting, that somewhere in the back of your mind you're holding a space for her return. Maybe you've gone no contact, maybe you've stopped reaching out, but she believes it's temporary. She thinks you're just giving her space, hoping she'll come around. That belief feeds her ego. It tells her she still has time, that if things don't work out with the other guy, if she gets bored or lonely, she can always circle back and you'll be there, open arms, heart still beating for her. That's the lie her ego needs to believe, and the moment she senses that it's no longer true, that's the moment her world shifts. You want to destroy her ego, move on completely, not just with your words, but with your life. Stop romanticizing her memory. Stop replaying the past like it still has power. When she reaches out and gets no answer, not because you're bitter, but because you're genuinely uninterested, she'll feel it. When she sees your energy invested in new people, new experiences, and most importantly, in yourself, she starts to realize that her window has closed. And the pain of that realization isn't just about losing you, it's about losing the version of herself that mattered to you. She's no longer special, she's no longer the exception. She's just another name in your past, another lesson in your story, and that kind of demotion that hits the ego like a freight train. Women are intuitive. They can feel when a man has emotionally detached. They sense the shift when your eyes don't light up at her name, when your voice no longer trembles at the thought of her, when your presence no longer carries that desperate hunger for her validation. That's when her ego breaks, because now she's faced with the truth. You're not hers anymore. You're not lingering in the shadows, watching and waiting. You've walked out of her orbit entirely, and it's not loud. It's not angry, it's quiet, clean, and permanent. She's no longer in control of your emotions, and that absence of control feels like a loss she can't explain. She'll test the waters, maybe a like on a post, maybe a text asking how you are, maybe a casual "I miss you." And if you respond with warmth or nostalgia, you've just fed her ego. But if you respond with cool detachment or worse, no response at all, she'll feel it. That's when the message is loudest. You don't miss her, and you're not hoping she comes back. You've rebuilt without her, and now you're unreachable, not because you're playing games, but because you've grown beyond her reach. That emotional unavailability, not born of bitterness, but of evolution, is the final blow to her ego. She no longer has the power she once did. She doesn't even know who you are anymore. The man she once thought she could walk away from is gone, and in his place stands someone who doesn't even look back. The ego doesn't break from silence alone. It breaks when silence is followed by replacement. When a woman realizes she's not just being ignored, she's being replaced, that's when the true damage happens. You don't need to block her, insult her, or post cryptic messages hoping she'll see them. What shakes her ego is when she watches you emotionally relocate. When she feels that void she once filled, now occupied by someone or something else, that's when she realizes she lost her place in your life. And make no mistake, most women expect you to wait. They expect you to struggle. They expect that even if you're not saying anything, you're still emotionally tethered to them, secretly hoping they'll change their mind. That assumption feeds their confidence. But when you stop reacting, when the energy she used to control no longer orbits her, you create a silence that echoes louder than words ever could. This doesn't mean rushing into another relationship or pretending to be happy to spark jealousy. No, it means replacing your reactive tendencies with stoic discipline, replacing your emotional confusion with grounded clarity, replacing her presence with purposeful action. You don't need someone new to validate your worth. What replaces her is a deeper version of yourself, the version that doesn't need her. That's what truly unsettles her, because she used to be your emotional anchor. You used to respond instantly. You used to care what she thought, how she felt, whether she was upset or distant. But now she texts and you leave it on read. She tries to bait you with nostalgia and you don't take the hook. You're not mad, you're not bitter, you're just done. And when she realizes that her chaos no longer holds power, when she sees that your inner world is no longer affected by her mood swings or manipulations, her ego takes the blow. Because most women don't regret losing a man immediately. What they regret is losing the control they had over him, the control to spark a reaction, the ability to make him chase, explain, or beg. But once you stop reacting, once you detach fully and emotionally replace her, you shift the entire power dynamic. You're no longer fighting for her validation. You've outgrown the need for it. You've stepped out of the emotional arena she once dominated, and now you operate from a position of power. Reactions are a form of validation. Whether it's anger, sadness, or desperate attempts to reconnect, it's all proof that she still matters. But when there's no emotional feedback, no sign that she still holds weight in your life, that's when her ego begins to collapse. Because now she's dealing with a man who no longer sees her as significant, not because he hates her, but because he finally sees his own worth without her. And when that happens, when you replace your reaction with calm detachment, she's forced to confront a new reality. She lost not just your love, but your respect. And that is a wound the ego doesn't recover from easily. If you truly want to crush her ego, become the man she never thought you could be and never let her near him. This isn't about faking growth or pretending you're healed. This is about becoming so rooted in your purpose, so focused, so evolved, that she no longer fits into the world you've created. Because here's the hard truth: most women don't believe you'll change. They don't think you'll rise. They believe you'll stay emotionally wounded, lingering in regret, maybe working out here and there, but ultimately still stuck in the same mental loop. They've seen that cycle before. A man disappears, improves just enough to try to win her back, and then collapses the moment she responds. But when you break that pattern, when your growth isn't motivated by pain but by purpose, that's when you become dangerous. Not in a toxic way, but in an untouchable way. You stop trying to prove your worth to her. You stop performing. You stop caring if she sees your glow up, because you know it's no longer about her. It's about you. Your mornings are no longer filled with thoughts of what could have been. They're focused on what will be. Your nights aren't restless with regret, but restful with direction. You're not seeking closure because you've built clarity. You're not chasing validation because you've realized that true value never begs. And the more you lean into this evolution mentally, emotionally, physically, Spiritually, the more you realize that the version of her you once idolized was built from illusion. You stop romanticizing the past and start romanticizing your future. And here's the twist that wrecks her ego. Now, even if she wanted you back, she doesn't qualify. She hasn't done the work. She's still playing games, still trying to get reactions, still living off shallow validation. Meanwhile, you've transcended that level of emotional warfare. You're in a different league, one that requires discipline, depth, and vision. You're not looking back, not because you're bitter, but because there's nothing worth returning to. You've evolved past the man who once tolerated her disrespect, her inconsistency, her manipulation, and now that man is dead. In his place stands someone she can't manipulate, can't seduce, can't even fully understand, because you no longer seek to be understood by someone who once overlooked your worth. She'll try to make sense of it. She'll replay the last interaction, hoping to find the moment she lost her grip. But the truth is, you didn't just pull away, you outgrew her. And now she's watching from the outside as the man she never thought would elevate has built a life where she's not even an afterthought. That kind of evolution doesn't just bruise the ego, it breaks it. Because it tells her, without ever saying a word, that she wasn't the prize. You were. She just didn't recognize it, and now she's locked out of a kingdom she helped build by breaking you. So now she's left with silence, not the kind that waits, but the kind that speaks volumes, the kind that signals finality, the kind that says, I've moved on, not in spite of you, but because of you. No contact was just the beginning. What really crushed her ego was the man you became after the silence, not the man who wanted her back, but the one who never needed her in the first place. That's the version of you she can never touch again. And that, more than anything, is what shatters her ego beyond repair.